This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I mean, the reason that these things piss me off so dang much is because they get like 500,000 views. You know what I'm saying?
No wonder. They're making up a whole new franchise over there.
Hello, Adison.
Oh, the table is turning again. Last week, I got to do that to you, which was fun. But we're back to our normal scheduled intro.
Our scheduled assigned seats.
I'm excited for today's episode because we're talking all about rumors of Yellowstone, the truth, or I guess the lie in some of the rumors, the tea.
That's a good way to describe it because there is a lot of flat out lies. There's a lot of deception. There's a lot of running and jumping to conclusions and quoting the vague sources. And then buried in there deep, if you sort of dig through the jungle with a machete, you'll find little seeds of truth. And I don't know. I thought we needed to kind of clear it up because people trust us to do these kind of things, I think.
Also, I appreciate that you said you're clearing the forest with a machete. So clearly there's you've done some heavy digging.
Well, have you noticed this on YouTube? There's other sort of videos sort of popping up that will suggest like ridiculous things, and they'll make someone's eyes look really bloody or give them scars, or I mean, it's outrageous to some of these things that are happening.
Not to begin this podcast by plugging our YouTube video, but we definitely did a video on that.
Right.
Billy did a lot of work on that, on finding all the lies in the thumbnails.
Yeah. Well, this is a little bit of an extension of this, and maybe we should take a moment too to share how this podcast is a little bit different from what we've done previously. And I'm referring to the video element. People can watch it on.
Okay, that's what I thought.
On YouTube.
I don't know what I'm about to spill here. So Billy, call phone a friend. Yes. So normally you guys just get to hear our voices, but bada bing, bada boom, the people have asked. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I don't know if anyone has asked.
I don't know if anyone's asked.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're giving you something you did not necessarily ask for, but a video element to the podcast where on YouTube you will get to see our faces along with some B-roll and add some little color if you like to watch podcasts rather than listening.
I think some people do. The videos will show like a 3 to 6 minute sort of recap of what we're going to talk about. And then we'll sort of go back into what our friend at screencrush.com refers to as the talkback, which is just us talking.
Yes.
Nothing fancy.
I would like to start today's podcast off, Bill. You were not prepared for this. I intentionally did not prepare you for this question with kind of a fun question. I thought about this question because our last episode was with Lainey Wilson, and I had asked her, what is something in the bunkhouse that she would leave behind, or, if she did leave behind, because we've heard before, you saw there's a Miranda Lambert old album photo and stuff like that. So my question for you is, if you could leave something in the bunkhouse, what would it be?
Something of my own, or if I was Lainey Wilson leaving something?
No, something of your own.
Oh, gosh. I'm not sure if I have anything that wouldn't look totally out of place in the bunkhouse. Is that okay, though, if it's just like this odd looking?
Oh, yes, I've thought of my answer, and it is not... It is not necessarily what you would think. Could go.
So a little sign of Billy, and I don't think I've shared this about myself, but one of my hobbies to keep myself in shape, I do a lot of road cycling, and I'm prone to wearing the full road cycling kit, they call it, the jersey, the socks, the shoes, and the spandex shorts. So maybe somewhere in the bunkhouse, just like hanging on the edge, you would see like a little pair of spandex shorts with the padded butt, and you would know Billy's been here.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Wow. Okay. You did a good job with taking that and running with it.
What's yours?
Well, I like how you took it. I was more so just going like, what would I leave in general in the bunkhouse? And I was thinking, I don't have one of these, but I kind of wish I did. I just don't have one. I was thinking like most likely most of these ranch hands have, probably spent a time or two at a gas station, at a truck stop. And so what I wanted to put in the bunkhouse was, how you've seen they rest on the little dashboard, the little hula girls that like shake back and forth whenever you're going over a speed bump. I wanted to leave one of those in the bunkhouse.
That's so random. Why? Why one of those?
So random. I don't know. I was just randomly thinking of things that would be like someone. That's what I was talking to Lainey about. As I find it so fascinating that someone, their job is to stage the bunkhouse. Like they have to think through what, like maybe I'd leave a toenail clipper. I don't know, but like someone has to think through those things. And so I just want something that's so rogue that when they look at it, they're like, "What?" But has kind of a story that could make it plausible of why it's in the bunkhouse.
Well, if you haven't listened to Lainey Wilson's answer to that question, you can look back in the archives to find it. But I would say maybe we need to leave some extra bars of deodorant for her next time she comes through. If she's out again, that way she has like a little bit of a dob kit, so to speak, that she can use.
Well, and razor. It wasn't just deodorant; it was also razor. We'll just leave a toiletry package for her.
Right, just a little LW on the side, emblazoned.
Well, thank you for entertaining that question. I just wanted to start our podcast with a little, just like a fun. In fact, actually, I would love to. What'd you say?
I said my pleasure. I was happy to do it.
Staff at Taste of Country, if you would like to add, what would you add to the bunkhouse? And then we'll forward these to Taylor Sheridan, whose email we do not have, but
we do not. One day.
Alrighty, let's start off the rumors. The first one is the topic of these trailers that we're seeing are pretty promising. Of what?
Yeah, that's the thing, is we see a lot of things that claim to be trailers on YouTube. Yellowstone trailer, 1923 season 2 trailer, 4/6's there are no new trailers available for any of these shows on YouTube. There was sort of a second half of season 2 trailer available for Yellowstone, but Yellowstone and Paramount have since pulled that in the wake of all the drama around Kevin Costner and Yellowstone. They've made that an unlisted video because it said in there coming this summer. It's pretty clear now that Yellowstone, the second half, is not going to come this summer. So if you see anything that it says it's a trailer, that's a red flag.
I definitely, when that news about Matthew McConaughey coming out and being a part of the franchise, they haven't said yet technically of what, I mean, we've assumed that it'd be 4/6 just because the shoe fits, but the Paramount has not come out and said that itself, or Taylor for that matter. What is interesting though is when I was Googling, I think I was doing a story on it, or maybe it was a news video, and I was Googling on YouTube just for kicks and giggles if there was anything else out there. And definitely, I'd say a lot of teas around 4/6s. But to your point of like, we don't have any trailer. But I feel like that's been maybe the most that I've seen recently.
What happens is like trailer and preview are sort of words that like search well. Like if you use like a website or have like a buddy or something that helps you with YouTube titles, it always suggests trailer and preview to kind of put in there. When we used to do episode previews, I would use episode preview, and I was tempted to do episode trailer as well. And maybe I even did once or twice, but that's kind of a different thing. Like, I feel like that's an official vehicle that the production releases.
So on this one, we're debunking the rumor that there are no new trailers. If you see anything that says, new 1923, new 1883, there wouldn't be 1883, but 4/6 is truly anything Yellowstone franchise, unless it's from them themselves, there's nothing new.
I want to correct you real quick. There could be new 1883 because remember the Bass Reeves show, which I think now is just going to be called Bass Reeves, but originally it was 1883 Bass Reeves, and that's sort of an extension of the Tim McGraw, but yeah,
it's not called 1883, Billy. I'm gonna stand my ground there.
Give yourself a headache. Your eye rolling so hard, Lordy. Okay.
And now we're on video, so the world will see my emotions.
Yeah. People are going to comment up and down like, Adison, she's got an attitude problem.
Moving on to the second one, and you kind of mentioned it with Paramount pulling that second trailer for Yellowstone season 5. What is going on with Kevin Costner? Is the show going to be canceled? A lot of people, that's the rumor, is that Yellowstone is going to be canceled.
Well, let's take these next two kind of maybe together, because I think they kind of speak to the same thing. And the next one is John Dutton is going to die. Maybe those are a little bit separate, but Yellowstone is going to be canceled. I mean, that's just a flat out lie. There's been no indication that Yellowstone's not coming back for the remainder of season 5. A lot of speculation that it might end after season 5, but no one's used the word canceled. Even the people who are like the biggest doubters, but are still connected to the business, aren't going as far as to say it's going to be canceled.
But do you feel like there's... Do you feel like that's been people's way of teasing a little bit more of a clickbait?
Yes, that's what it is. That's what it is. Clickbait. The word canceled is clickbait. John Dutton is going to die. I wouldn't out and out call that clickbait necessarily, because there does seem to be some heat, and we've even sort of speculated that he won't live through season 5. The recent rumor now is that he's going to die within the first couple episodes of this second half, and that's actually picked up some steam, and I think even Taste of Country lent it some credibility. I don't like it. I don't like the source, and I don't like the story, because it's unnamed sources, and I can't imagine anybody... Taylor Sheridan and the Yellowstone universe have been so tight-lipped about every detail around around Yellowstone. I don't know how or why they would leak a detail this far in advance about John Dutton dying in season 3. I think someone has made that up or is speaking because they heard something from somebody and a game of telephone went bad.
Well, and kind of to all that, our third point actually even lends itself to the two that we just talked on. With all this back and forth and everything that's going on, we're in April of 2023. Do you think, I mean, literally almost May, do you think Yellowstone's coming back in 2023?
At this point, I do. I'm going to say yes. I think we'll have a November-ish premiere. Time's running out, I think, for that to happen. But and again, I'm not basing that on anything I know or any sort of insider knowledge. I just feel like they got to get these other shows off the ground. They have the 4 6s. They have 1923 kind of waiting on deck. Like this is holding up not only production of Yellowstone, but the whole franchise. They're going to have to make a move and get Yellowstone off the ground, I think, by the end of this year.
So the rumor is, sorry to clarify, I realized I didn't actually spout off the rumor. The rumor is that Yellowstone will return in 2023. And so you're leaning towards that's not necessarily a rumor. You think that there is legitimacy to it.
I do. And a lot of the cast, when you hear them talk, like they kind of indicate that like it's coming sooner and later. But I think you even have to be careful about what cast says. Like, I don't think too much of the cast really knows what's going on. A lot of them are maybe just speaking optimistically or saying things because they're put in a situation where they need to answer a question, and people are stiffing them with that question. Like, I don't necessarily know. I mean, wasn't it? What was it? It was Cole Hauser who proudly exclaimed, "We're going to have seasons 6 and 7 of Yellowstone," not too long ago. I mean, it was just a couple of months ago. You know, clearly, his reliability as a narrator is worth questioning at this point. Rip Wheeler, I trust. Cole Hauser,
you get a car. You get a car.
Yeah,
you get a car.
Season 14 of Yellowstone. Be here.
Heard it here first. Being accidentally gratuitous.
A little.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Granger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Yeah. Well, the next one I've got for us, which I'm interested about, because I hadn't really heard this rumor one way or the other, that Jimmy and Teeter are quitting the show.
Well, this is in direct response to a video thumbnail I saw. It was a video produced by a channel called After TV, and it has a picture of Jefferson White as Jimmy, a picture of Jen Landon as Teeter, and it says, breaking news, quote, we are quitting the show. And it's even in quotes to indicate they said, and the title of the video is Yellowstone 666 trailer, release date, Jimmy and Teeter first look. Like all the red flags. No. This is like all the things. They never said that. Another actor. I mean,
I'm just thinking, like, yeah, 4/6 takes off. Whenever we eventually will get the premiere date, literally Jimmy is a part. Like, those are two pivotal characters that I'm going. If they leave, I mean, okay, maybe Teeter, I could like finagle away without her, but Jimmy, like,
yeah, Jimmy's coming. He's coming to the ranch. I'd put a sizable chunk of change on that bet that Jimmy and Jefferson White are going to be a part of the 4/6 show. I don't think he's the star. I don't think he's the centerpiece.
No.
I think he's just going to be Jimmy.
Yes.
But I think he's there to stay.
This next one I'm pumped about because have had multiple conversations with family members, friends about this one, and I've literally had to like explain no or yes or whatever. So excited about this one. It is that Matthew McConaughey is replacing Kevin Costner. So he will be, it's essentially saying Matthew McConaughey is going to be the next John Dutton. Like, how well, now I'm going to tangent, but when they do a Home Alone, beautiful example. How, right. What is the kid? Oh my gosh, I don't even know what that actor's name is.
Macaulay Culkin.
The kid. Yes. How he's the same in the first two, but then once they went to 3 and 4, they had a different kid for each one. And I'm like, it's not the same. No.
Right. So I think this kind of morphed into this rumor because as we are sort of learning that there was a rift between Paramount and Kevin Costner, an executive with Paramount was speaking at some sort of conference or some sort of gathering in Montana, and he said that we have Matthew McConaughey on tap for another Yellowstone prequel. And he didn't give a whole lot of other details. I think he kind of spoke out of turn, if I'm being honest. Well, I think that those two topics kind of merged together to end up being Matthew McConaughey is going to replace Kevin Costner as John Dutton. That's definitely not going to happen. There is a possibility, I guess, that he could play a version of John Dutton from the past.
Right. Right.
Maybe a show set in the 80s or something like that.
Right.
But I don't think that's going to happen because they seem to be a little bit like they're on a every 20 years path. And we know there's a 1940s prequel coming. John Dutton wouldn't be alive from that. There's the next would be like a 1960s. He'd be like a kid. And then I guess if you got into like the 80s or the 2000s, maybe, but those all seem like pretty good stretches, but still possible, I guess. I mean, we've put a lot of weight into thinking that he's going to end up on the 4/6 show. We don't know that for certain. It just makes a lot of sense. But there could be a prequel that no one knows about.
So we're essentially debunking this rumor by saying we're not saying that he couldn't be a older version or whatever of John Dutton, but he's not going to replace John Dutton in the current Yellowstone, like that age that you see him in.
Absolutely not. I think we'd revolt, wouldn't we? I mean, that would be a terrible decision.
Yeah, I would phone a friend and say, hey, I don't know what we were thinking, but you could never, I think it would absolutely taint and ruin the show. Like, let's just go ahead and kill John Dutton if we need to. Like, if we're really at that point, like, okay. No.
Just at the beginning of like a random episode of Yellowstone, Elsa comes on with a voiceover and says, for this episode of Yellowstone, the role of John Dutton will be played by Matthew McConaughey. And that's it. That's all they get.
His understudy.
Yeah. Right. Like it's a theater production. And we're all supposed to accept that and go right on living life. No, that would never happen.
This next one, I know where you got it from, but also I am like, what? Like, how would someone think that this one's just a rumor. Like, there's no truth in it, but it's that Jamie kills Rip.
Well, there's a channel called Next Film that has Jamie killing everybody. I see him killing Beth, I see him killing Rip, and it's this. What it is, this is really clever what they did, and I got to give them credit. The scene where Jamie kills Garrett, right?
Yes,
he has that. There's that still shot where he has the gun out, pointed out.
Yes.
They've taken that and they've flipped it horizontally, so it looks like he's firing a gun with his left hand instead of his right hand. And then they've put like an image of Rip behind it and kind of bloodied up Rip. And that's they did that same thing for Beth as well, where they have Beth all bloodied and there's Jamie with that same shot pointing. And then there's another one with Jamie and his eyes are all red. I'm looking at it. That's why I'm looking up. And it says, it has Beth saying, I killed Jamie. Another one that says trailer, release date, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the reason that these things piss me off so dang much is because they get like 500,000 views. You know what I'm saying?
No wonder. They're making a whole new franchise over there.
I mean, 500,000 views, that's a lot. I mean, that's more we're getting on average videos. I would take that. And they're just, they're weakening the whole sort of what we do, I think.
But I guess what we are saying is we're giving props to whoever creates their graphics and catchy titles, I guess.
I'm not even giving them that because they're not good graphics. They're just really sensational.
They do the job.
My graphics are better. My graphics are better than your graphics.
Okay, let's also circle and give Billy one word of affirmation. Your graphics are great. Anyways, moving on to our last one before we give Billy too big of a head over there, is that the 4 6s will debut in 2023. Billy, true, false, indifferent?
You know, I think it was supposed to. I think it was supposed to before all this stuff with Yellowstone happened. There's a news article from an outlet called countryliving.com, who is a respectable news outlet. I'm not going to give them crap because the article came from December 2022 and it was about the 4 6s coming in the end of this current year. Well, the thing is, it keeps getting recycled on Facebook and even sponsored and promoted. So it says 4 6s coming this year. And I can't see how that show begins until what's coming next on Yellowstone wraps up. That don't make sense to me.
Why? Like, why wouldn't it make sense?
Because we left Yellowstone with everybody heading down to the 4 6s. Like, there's an it's open-ended there. Like, they got to return to the Yellowstone. Some of them have to return to the Yellowstone. Like, that action needs to resolve itself at the Yellowstone. Like, is Rip going to be part of this 4 6s show? Like, is the 4 6s show just focused in on this time of Yellowstone? Like, that would really be puzzling to be a show within a show. It wouldn't be a prequel. I know you're trying to talk and I keep going on and on, but it wouldn't be a prequel or a sequel. It'd be like a mid-quel or something. I don't know what you would call that.
Well, what they could do is they could technically, like, and yes, this is not necessarily going to be the same, but you know, when we were having Yellowstone episodes and we were having, was it 1923 or was it 1883? No, it was 1923 playing at the same time. You could have that concept where you're playing Yellowstone and then he's weaving in also on a completely different night. 4 6s is coming on.
But these shows involve the same characters.
Right. So it'd be easier to weave. Never mind.
Like, have you ever read a book where like the premise of the book is someone telling a story or someone reading a book? Like, a classic example would be Never-Ending Story. Do you remember that movie?
I have not even heard of it.
It was a German book and it became a movie in the 80s. If you're an 80s kid, you've seen the Never-Ending Story. If not, you may not have, and you can be forgiven. I wouldn't rush to see it. It didn't hold up as an adult, but it's charming. It's like almost like a cult classic, I think, especially if you were a child of the 80s. But the premise of the book is the boy steals this book from a bookstore, and then he holds up in, like, I think his school's attic or something, and reads the book. And the movie we see is what happens in that book, and he kind of ends up being a part of that story. Like, that doesn't work in too many cases, I don't think.
I'm tracking.
Okay.
I'll let you have that one.
I wish I had a more recent example to give you. I do not.
You just aged yourself is really just what you did with the two of us right now.
I think I aged both of us. But people can watch now, so they can see clearly, like, the
I'm going to go
where
watch.
we're coming from.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
So I have a couple more things.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think maybe there's some loose ends that we need to point out. And we've done this before about Yellowstone loose ends that just have not been tied up that I think drive fans crazy.
Okay.
In the past, the most famous example, of course, is Lugnut Boy. Our friend Lugnut Boy from season 3. It was not just me, Adison. There was a lot of people that wanted to know what happened to the boy with the lug nuts before John Dutton gets shot to conclude season 3.
I want the receipts of how many people are really wanting to know what happened to Lugnut Boy. This has kept you, I am sorry that this has genuinely kept you up at night. We've brought this up so many times.
It's been a while though, hasn't it?
I don't think, yeah. And then I saw the same reaction. I think that one we just really need to, as you tell me sometimes, pull up Adison, you're digging too deep. I think this one, we've got to put it to bed.
No.
But
When we put the loose ends video together, I remember there was a lot of comments about Lugnut Boy. I remember reading and responding to them. I know they were there. I hope they were there at this point. Okay. Anyway, there's some other more pressing loose ends. And I'll start with kind of a fun one. That's not really a loose end, but it's kind of just something that occurred to me recently. Clearly, the Yellowstone Ranch is in some sort of dire financial straits. Are they not? Money is an issue.
You're not saying that, you're not talking about like where they film. You're saying like the Yellowstone on TV is in dire issue.
Right. Kevin Costner's family is having money issues.
Yes.
Do you see what they eat every night for dinner? Like, it's ridiculous. No one has ever just thrown together a soup or like a crock pot meal. Like, Gator always comes up with 4 to 5 different types of wild game that his team has shot and killed themselves, and it's served up with wine, a fully set table. I mean, these are expensive. You would think you would reel in on some of the T&E, as you call it, but not one bit. They are still eating like kings. As much as we're supposed to sympathize a little bit with the plight of the Duttons and what they're fighting for, he's having dove. He's eating dove. How much does dove? It has to be expensive.
You're right, actually. I've never thought about that. You're so right. Well, and the fact that they have Gator, like they have Gator, who is the chef. Like, that's already, let's just sprinkle that money.
Well, I if there's some sort of housekeeper, if his job expands beyond just chef, and he's also sort of cleaning the toilets and he's dusting the mantle, I would love to see a scene where we see Gator in an apron doing a little light vacuuming.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to pitch in and step up a little bit here, and we don't see that. He's just a chef, and that's what they do, and having these tremendous. So that's kind of bothered me. Not a loose end, something to sort of look for as the season resumes.
I'm never going to view one of their family dinners the same anymore, Billy. You did me in. Now I'm going to be just staring at the plate. Forget what happens to Beth and, Jamie across the table. It's going to be, what are they having for dinner?
I bet you that wine they're drinking is not $3 Chuck either. That's a good bottle. It's probably.
Oh yeah, they're not driving to Trader Joe's for that.
He's probably getting Josh Sellers up in there. So I'm saying.
Maybe they did a brand deal, You don't know. They gave them something and then in trade. I don't know.
All right,
do you have any other loose ends?
I do.
Okay.
This is a real loose end that we've mentioned before, but it still bugs the heck out of me. Dawn Olivieri's character, Sarah Atwood. We learned early in season 5, Beth discovers that's not her real name. Then the episode ends, and we never heard anything about it again.
You're right. That one does bug me. That one will keep me up at night. Forget Lugnut Boy, but that will. It's so true. Like, surely we're going to have some resolution to that.
That would be a bigger
loose end
to me than Lugnut Boy.
Yeah.
Right. No, I agree. That seems like an intentional plot point. They were going in a direction, whereas Lugnut Boy, they were. It's an understandable oversight. They just couldn't fit that in. They had to cut it for time. We never figured out the resolution there. Or they didn't want to kill a 10-year-old boy on screen, which I totally understand.
Yeah.
But Sarah Atwood's real name, like that has to come back somehow.
Surely.
Mm-hmm.
That one I will also join you in.
I don't think her name's Shirley. But anyway. The last one I have...
I just cannot.
This is
so Billy, your dad jokes over there.
This is an audio medium, Adison. You can't silent laugh.
I know. I'm sorry. Well,
You're
sometimes
laughing.
I also realize when I laugh that I think I'm too hot in the mic, and so then that I progressed way too far, or I guess I regressed and gave you a silent laugh. I was laughing, and also at the same time eye rolling. That was a good dad joke, Billy.
Okay, last one. This was in season 4. As we are being introduced to Tim McGraw's character from 1883, we learned that he comes upon some Native Americans. The natives ask them to bury the body of their ancestor, I believe a father, on the Yellowstone ranch land. He agrees. Flash forward to the airport being built, and the airport builders discover a body on the airport. Yep. This is supposed to be a big deal. It could potentially shut down the operation because it's all of a sudden an Indian burial site. And we're led to believe this is going to really hold things up, or at least there's going to be some sort of red tape, legal mumbo jumbo. Never heard about it again. Never figured out what happened to that body or how they got past that or cleared that hurdle. And the Indians, or the Native Americans, never made a stink about it.
That's so true. And I wonder if they just did that once again, kind of one of those of like, ran out of time. This is not one that we're going to tie up. But I wonder if it was just supposed to signify like, hey, there's going to be kind of headbutting with the Native Americans, the people who are coming in with the airport. I don't know.
If so, there hasn't been that headbutting. That's the other thing I get frustrated about with Yellowstone is the Native Americans' role in the show has been kind of really trivialized over these last 2 seasons, but that's neither here nor there. So those are 3 big things. If you've seen more, staff at tasteofcountry.com, I'd love to talk about them. And then maybe at the end of this video, we'll roll all that great lug nut boy comment footage. Man, that's going to be beautiful. That's going to be good stuff.
Billy might shed a tear. Actually, we're going to film Billy live watching it. That and the Elsa scene where she's playing the piano as everyone's drowning and trying to cross the river. Those are your 2 pull on the heartstring moments.
I have a story to tell you about that song. I'm not going to tell it right here because it's pretty insidery and not that interesting, but I know you personally will get a kick out of it.
Well, I probably will. I have no idea what this story holds, but I have a good feeling it will make me laugh. As always, thank you guys so much for listening. And I don't know if you look like you were about to say something, Billy, but I was just going to say rating and reviews always are super helpful for us. I know on Apple Podcast, you can do that. Did you know you can do that on Spotify too? I don't think we've ever directly said like, hey, on Spotify, if you could
can you review on Spotify?
I need to figure out like the actual logistics of it, but I was listening to a podcast and it literally at the end said, do you want to rate this? And I think the logistics behind it is you have to follow the podcast. So y'all would have to follow Dutton Rules. But like once you're following it, I think you can. It just randomly popped up and then I couldn't get it to go back. But I do think that is an option.
I haven't been able to access our reviews on Apple Reviews lately for some reason. Like they've kind of been hidden from me. So I haven't been able to see what people have been saying. I don't know if it's just sort of a user error or what, but I didn't know about that about podcasts. I knew on Yellowstone you could rate. I didn't know you could leave a review. So curious.
I think you can on Spotify. No one quote me on that if that is incorrect. Like I said, I had just seen it and then I tried to figure out where it was and I couldn't figure it out. But yeah, you can definitely rate it. And then I think I'm doing this live currently. Okay, maybe you can just rate. I could have sworn I saw it was like an upgrade. Okay, maybe just rate. Well, still rating on Spotify. Yep, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And then Apple Podcasts is where you guys can leave us a review. It is always greatly appreciated.
Very good.
Alrighty, Bill, you have anything else for us before I sign us off?
No, we'll be back soon as sort of needed. I anticipate some news with one of these shows is going to kind of shake free within the next, maybe 2 months. But we'll try to check in before that to kind of let you know if there's anything that you might have missed if you haven't been following really closely. I think during these off times, it's totally understandable to sort of unplug from it. So we're just going to kind of rejoin to sort of wrap arms around a lot of information at once, maybe monthly or so.
There you go. Well, y'all, as always, the Dutton Rules Yellowstone 1923 podcast is another great stellar Town Square Media podcast. Thanks for listening.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.